On the topic of gaming publications, I had a conversation with a friend the other day where I kind of like hit upon something that I've always I've felt in the background, but it hasn't been very. I don't know. It took a certain conversation to like elicit it out of me, to really draw it out, and it's that I think it's kind of weird that we have video game publications. Like, okay. If you look at any other medium, yeah, there are enthusiast publications for movies, for music, for books, right? But also, like, you can open a copy of the New York Times and, like, right under where they're, like, copying for U.S. war crimes it'll be a review of like a Kendrick Lamar album, you know? Like they have people there, like, you know, culture writers who write about culture. They'll write about movies. They'll write about books. And it's not the main focus of the newspaper or, you know, the publication, but it's there. It's considered news. News isn't just like things that are happening in the area. That includes like what is the cultural output of society. If you go to your local newspaper, there's probably stuff about local stuff going on because that is part of society. And I think it's absolutely crazy that I have the AP News app on my phone. And I get notifications about whatever awful things happening in the world right now, somewhat frequently. So I figured, okay, so there's a couple things that bother me about it. Number one is that you can turn on and you can toggle different categories that you want to get updates about. You cannot toggle off sports for some goddamn reason. That is considered an integral part of the AP experience. There are so many other things that you can toggle off, but for some reason, sports is like, no, Taigen, you have to know every single time there is a college football game, you have to know the updated AP Top 25. I don't even know what that means. I don't watch football. I barely know how football is played. American football. Ooh, I'm adding shit. I'm adding bullshit to the fucking to the agenda now. And I find it ludicrous. I really do find it like luda that they will send me new like updates about like a movie I have never heard of that's in theaters, or even just like a popular movie that's coming out. And I have never, I think genuinely, the last time I saw a news update, like a news story from the Associated Press about video games, the biggest entertainment industry in the world, was, I think, when Cyberpunk came out. It was that, or maybe Baldur's Gate. Like, and there was a gulf in between them, if they even ran a Baldur's Gate story. Like, isn't that weird? That's kind of crazy. This might be just an American thing. I don't know if like other countries have more typical or have more, a little bit more embrace of you know, the biggest entertainment medium in the world, the biggest industry. The Washington Post had a gaming division that they completely closed down, save for one brave soldier, the venerable Gene Park. Shout out to Gene. He's cool. He's the only guy. It falls on his shoulders. And it's like, he's just one guy. Like, he can write some op-eds. He can review like a couple games a month, depending on how big they are, you know? And it's like, it's ridiculous that and it genuinely is just, it's the owners of these magazines not understand. There's a hard generational wall, and they don't understand video gaming. and they don't. I feel like I'm like fucking in like 2012 and I'm making a video about like Jack Thompson and Fox News, but like they don't understand the medium. They're not interested in it, and they also in their I can't think of the word right now. In their stuck in their waysness. Been up since 4 p.m. yesterday. They also fail to see why anybody would be interested in that content, right? Like, I would like to see video game reviews from non-enthusiast publications, not just as a marker of like a kind of cultural acceptance, which is nice, but I'm not like that much of a whore. I just want the perspective. Like, I want something that isn't involved in like the horrible fucking gamer swirl conversation where I'm like, fuck, I feel kind of bad because I like this Kotaku article. There are plenty of great outlets, right? Like Eurogamer is really good. are they still called VGC? Which one of them had a name change? Gamesindustry.biz. I love that it's .biz. Or is it Game Developer? Someone had a name change recently, and I cannot remember who. Aftermath, I've enjoyed some editorials from them as well. Like, there are good publications that have been like consistently good for getting industry news. And I don't really read reviews personally. But like the obviously good ones exist. There are things from like the more like the IGNs or the PC Gamers or the Kotakus, and they can be of shaky reliability. But it's like it would just be kind of nice. I think it would be nice to just have something as like a more I feel like someone who's writing for a non-enthusiast like a generalist magazine or newspaper or publication, whatever they are now, is going to at least have some sort of a different perspective. I feel like I'd trust them a little more. Do I? I don't know if I mean that, or if I'm just tired. Maybe I'm just trying to like justify my point. You know who had a really good... Okay, speaking of Cyberpunk, of all people, the BBC had a very good review of Cyberpunk 2077. Go look up the video review for that. It's like 6 minutes long. And when I first saw it, I was like, 6 minutes? Like, how are they gonna... That's the only reason I clicked on it. I was like, a 6 minute review of Cyberpunk? Like, really? And it's like genuinely a very good review. It's concise. It gets immediately to the points. They're well articulated. I understand the reviewer's perspective. And I really like the way that he articulated things. And it was just like a very good review from the BBC. It was critical. It gave the game points where he felt like it did succeed. It said some things were just middling. It talked about the bugs in like a pretty reasonable way, I thought. While, you know, still kind of being realistic about it's probably going to get fixed. But yeah, you know, all that. And it was like, damn, the BBC really pulled out. They really pulled through on this one. Yeah, I think it's just like a annoying generational thing that it's like I'm almost like rooting for that. Like, I'm trying to help you guys. Like, I'm speaking directly to the damn New York Times or something. But like, it would help your readership. There are so many people who would be interested in reading, you know, video game news that is not from an enthusiast source, or that you could scoop up, right? And I think the fact that so much professional video game discussion is kind of trapped in the enthusiast bubble is really kind of been detrimental to that discussion. It kind of makes things sort of inbred. Like, the air is getting a little stale. It's getting a little stanky. When you have a bunch of people who like live and breathe this shit or purport to, and everyone is like reading from the same magazines, which are all hyper focused on this one thing. I say magazines, but these websites that are all hyper focused on this like one medium. I think that that's just like a recipe for like volatility. Because like you're getting all these people who probably have differing opinions on stuff, and you're shoving them into like one box. There's nowhere for like a casual gamester to hop in on this stuff. You know what's crazy also is that I don't know, like, okay, do you remember when the Me Too thing happened? And that was, everyone knew about that. Everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein when that happened. I remember where I was when that was coming out, and when I was like, where I was like in high school. And that was a big cultural moment. I think it's really weird that the Blizzard stuff did not stick as hard as it felt like it was going to. And like, okay, when the Blizzard thing happened, which Bobby Kotick categorically denies, so any Blizzard truthers, I'm sorry, but this is an unsafe space. Crazy how he has to be the only person in the world with that opinion. That is really funny in a fucked up way. When that happened, when the Blizzard scandal happened, that was the biggest thing of that, the biggest story of that kind that had ever happened in the video game industry. It was absolutely, it was unparalleled. Any kind of like big industry reaching drama beforehand would have been like, I don't know, something like a Gamergate movement, or there was nothing, like there's nothing even to compare, right? That reached the heights of how high profile that whole situation was, how deep it went, how much information there was. And I mean, yeah, I was talking about it on this podcast for months. And I remember going on campus with Kat. I went to visit Katrina on campus one day and hang out for what was it, an event? Was it Halloween? It was something. It might have been Halloween. I remember going on campus with her then. But I went with her, and I remember like in the midst of that, in the absolute heat of like stories coming out every day about Blizzard, like overhearing, like waiting outside of one of the classrooms, you know, there's a group of people, and a very like gay seeming person, I guess they say queer now, you know, to be more vague about it, to be more general. I remember just seeing them and overhearing them talking about how into Overwatch they were. And I just found something like really strange about that. Like, I don't know. It really was like, oh, I feel like you wouldn't be talking like this about a Blizzard game if you knew. Like, I don't know if they knew that Blizzard made Overwatch. Maybe they just knew Overwatch. If they knew that Blizzard made Overwatch, I really don't think they knew about the scandal. Dude, like the fucking breast milk thing had just come out. It was like the peak of that shit. And something about it was just really, really struck me. Because it's like that thing had been in my mind so heavily. I was so invested in that and covering that. And just to hear someone who obviously just did not know about any of it was like, whoa. That's weird to me. Not on them. This isn't like to put that on them, but like, it was weird to me that you would think that the biggest scandal of its sort, would reach more people, would be a little more high profile. But no, it genuinely like wasn't. There were people who heard about it, but like the casual audience, the normies, and hey, look, everyone's a normie for most things, but like gaming normies, right? Normal people. Not a peep. And that was so weird. Like, everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein when that happened. Nobody knew who the fuck Harvey Weinstein was. Obviously, they knew his movies. They knew the actresses who were exploited. But no one really knew who the fuck Harvey Weinstein was. Like, people know who Blizzard... some people know. I feel like way more people know who Blizzard... What Blizzard is. And like that was, everyone knew about that, and that was like for good reason. And part of me wonders like, damn, if there was just more of a vested interest in covering games industry news, from new releases to op-eds to just stuff that's happening, news happening in the industry. Like, would more people have been aware of that? Like, would that have been a more widespread story? Like, I just find it really strange, and it's just weird that Blizzard, like, kind of bounced back from it. I get that they probably laid off, like, everyone who was involved in that. Like, they got rid of all those people. It's just, again, it was just, I don't know. It leaves me in a state of bewilderment.